Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And this is the second half of the Fall Break 2021, as we branch a little bit out of the mainstream and try to connect some dots that God never intended to connect. George, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm all right, bro.
Travis, you're back. You don't sound like you're on the International Space Station anymore.
No, we're good. This is that was my impression of Kenny.
What was that? Kenny?
Sounds like Kubrick trying to fake the space landing.
Oh yeah. No, we're good.
I guess it's a moon landing. You don't land on space. We're off to a good start tonight, boys.
Shit.
This week we had George watch John Carpenter's classic, The Fog. George, did you watch The Fog?
I sure did.
Did you like The Fog?
I sure didn't.
What?
Was I supposed to?
Insert the sound of like brakes squealing.
Oh.
Two cars slammed together.
Oh.
You didn't like The Fog?
Nah, bro. It's a total snoozer.
What?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know that you're gonna like connect all these dots for me with like a bunch of Jallos and stuff.
No.
No.
No,
don't
not
think
really.
so.
It's just a good movie.
You both like this movie?
It rocked.
Well, it's nostalgia, Travis. I mean, this
Okay.
was like one of the first scary movies I ever watched when I was a kid.
Okay.
Image wise, commercial, trailer wise, and being forbidden to watch R-rated movies.
Oh yeah, you can't watch this.
You know, this was the kind of movie that you said, "Good night, Mom, Dad," and when they went to bed, you ran downstairs and tried to find this in VHS somewhere and watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all over this, the kid Travis. There's reasons why I love it. Watching it last night, I do have problems with it, so I'm going to enjoy this discussion.
Sure.
But I do love it for probably different reasons than Dan does.
No, I'm
Fair
going to
enough.
put right out on Front Street. I avoided The Fog for a long time because it's called The Fog, and I thought that sounded kind of boring. So I think I watched it for the first time after the pandemic began.
Oh.
And immediately I was just like, oh, I missed an awesome movie. How stupid of me to spend first 30-something years of my life thinking this movie would be boring when, in fact, I thought it kicked a lot of butt. I think I've watched it 4 times in the last year and a half.
Sweet.
It's really good. And so, George, we've got some work to do.
Yeah, I guess so.
Break out your marble notebook and your abacus and your compass.
Do they still make those marble notebooks? They really, I mean,
Yes,
nowadays,
they do. Yes.
I just imagine they make like tablet covers that look like the marble. But
where the hell else are you going to get your measurements?
If they don't make tablet covers that have that pattern, they should.
Yes.
Copyright the Remedial Film Class Podcast.
I'm a little bummed.
Well, you know, we've had this happen before, and we will fix him. I hope. Now, let me ask you just straight up, George.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, you and I are going to watch a movie, and it has to be either Halloween 2 or The Fog. Which one you picking?
Halloween 2.
Why?
Familiar.
I don't know, man.
They're basically the same movie.
I don't know. Like this, I don't know. Like I just didn't buy into the whole thing from the beginning. You know, It's got that like, I don't know. I want to like kind of maybe blame it on the supernaturalness of it. Does that make sense? But then again, like Michael Myers isn't exactly
right. Would it have been better if they didn't foreshadow the whole ghost story thing, and it just was like this fog, this ominous fog, and then at the end, you see what's in the fog and why it's there?
This reminds me of our discussion of The Shining. Like, why did they tell you right up front?
Well, it's kind of this my same.
That wasn't a
problem
foreshadowing. That was just a.
No, it's establishing a story, but it to me, I know that scene, that campfire scene in the beginning was not a reshoot, but it was like a soundstage scene thrown in. I don't know if it was written during the original script writing or if they threw it in to kind of tie things up. But to me, I always thought this movie would have been scarier if you didn't know it was a ghost revenge story. It doesn't change it at all for me because it's still kind of a cool, the leprosy pirates that are basically coming back for their gold. That's a story that's been used.
You know what that movie
times.
would be called?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
No. The one you just described,
what?
where you don't know what's going on with the fog. It would be called The Happening.
Or it would be called What the Fog. Yeah, kind of like The Happening.
Yeah. All you know is that when the wind blows, you just hold your breath because you might die. Or you will die.
But I kind of like those stories. Like,
and you don't know why.
There was a show on, it kind of dealt with the idea of the rapture, where people just all of a sudden, kind of like Thanos, like 2/3 of the population just disappears. Like middle of eating cereal, poof, gone. And you don't know where your third child is. You don't know where your husband is. Like, it just happens. And they don't explain to you what happened until you find out what happened. So then there's like this whole mystery and this and that. To me, I think this story is a great story, but if it was done today, I think they rushed to the story too quickly. Like the build-up was nice, but they let you in on the secret too early to the point where you knew what that fog was, why it was there on April 21st. Like, all those things you already knew. So now you're just sitting back and watching. Yeah,
which I guess is kind of why it was boring.
Yeah, I think if they would have taken the Michael Myers approach where this fog is an entity, it's a happening, but you don't know what's in that fog. You do see the shadows walking across the windows. I love the whole knocking of the door when I was a kid. That scared the shit out of me. The tapping the glass, like all those things is eerie. Like I kept thinking this movie's spooky. It's just a spooky movie. It's a spooky ghost story. But you're given too much information, so now you're sitting there thinking, okay, when am I going to see these pirates? When am I going to do this? When am I going to... So you're not really focusing on the
And then you see
suspense.
them and they have red LED eyes.
Yeah. Which I think is cool as hell. Shut your mouth.
He looked kind of cool.
So here's the thing, man. This movie is released in 1980, the same year as Friday the 13th. And instead of a crazy Ralph, this movie gives you exposition at a campfire, which at the beginning of the movie, you don't really know, is this story lead up for me? Or is this actually part of the world? And you could be forgiven if 10 minutes into the movie, you're like, oh, that's the kid from the... oh, that happened the night before. Oh, this is actually part of the movie and not just like something for the audience. Like, it's kind of brazen the way they do it. But I'll remind you, Halloween 1, they do the exact same thing. They present you with a little bit of mystery up front, and then they're like, oh, by the way, it's this kid, and his name is Michael, and he stabbed his sister, and there's no more whodunit mystery because this movie is about this guy killing people. But at the end of the movie, they're like, oh, but by the way, he might be a boogeyman for real, because his body is gone, there's no dent in the grass, and he's somewhere in the streets, breathing heavily.
Breathing somewhere.
Maybe he's the wind, right? Like, so in a way, this movie is just like
breathing heavily.
This movie picks up right where Halloween ends. Halloween, the first one, leaves off. Don't let me reference the movie coming out next year. Right at the end of Halloween 178, he becomes an entity for the first time. He is now no longer human, maybe. He may be in the air, maybe. And then you cut to a movie, The Fog, where the enemy is in the air again. It's like the inverse of the Halloween formula in a way. And you notice it happens on April 21st, right? 6 months. April is the half year away from Halloween. And it's the 21st instead of the 31st, but it's like...
The journal entry from the grandfather, the grandfather priest was April 30th.
Was it April 30th?
Yes.
Well, and there is no April 31st, right? So, I mean, you have to acknowledge the connections to Halloween and the dates to kind of see the context of where this movie is. This is the movie that follows Halloween, essentially. This is the first theatrical release movie that Carpenter did.
Their idea was to just do installments for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't specifically going to be Michael Myers. So... this would have been a good Halloween 2, I think. Halloween
okay,
2, The Fog.
So
I think that would have
the
been
Halloween movies were going to be like a different villain each time?
Not
or
a
like that's what
villain,
they
but
were
almost
thinking
like little stories, kind of like
Kinda
a
like-
strange tales
Kind
kind
of
of
like
stories.
Black Mirror. Like each episode is something completely different.
Yeah, an anthology
Okay, yeah.
is how you would.
An anthology, yeah.
So keep in mind, too, Halloween comes out in 78. Friday the 13th comes out in 80. Friday the 13th Part 2 is the first of the real like sequels that will lead to the 80s and, 8 Jasons, 7 Freddys, 4, 5, 6 Halloween, 5 Halloweens by the end of the day. Like, that sequelitis that happens hasn't occurred yet when The Fog comes out. At this time, it is like a pure world where you make a movie, and unless you're James Bond, you make a new movie the next time. But The Fog very much has some of the spirit of Halloween, but not at all related to the Michael Myers story, the setting, or anything like that.
It almost has a feel of like a Stephen... You know how they always say Stephen King stories don't really take place in the same towns, but it's like a universe, kind of like the View Askew universe, where you could take all these characters and put them all in one movie, and you would see how they all interact, and it's kind of like... I think this movie would totally fit in that. Maybe Carpenter was trying to do what Stephen King built, which is like a universe that's in different books, and they're all different people. They don't interact, but this all could be happening in the same town. I think that I never even thought of that, Dan. But when you brought that up, that would have been phenomenal if this was the sequel to Halloween. Honestly, that would have been awesome.
As a kid, I skipped this one, like I said, so I wouldn't have even considered it. Aaron, our regular contributor, his friend Eric is the one who originally proposed this idea to Aaron. Aaron passed it on to me, and I was like, swipe. We're taking that for the show because it's just too interesting a concept, given how little of John Carpenter's heart is in Halloween 2. How much of it is recycled from Halloween 1, how much is deep red, just like repackaged as an American movie. This movie is so much less derivative and so awesome. Even if George found it sleepy, that's okay. What were your expectations, right? We didn't give you any. If you expected, Rob Zombie's Halloween in terms of violence and cursing and stuff, and you get this kind of... I mean, I could show this movie to my kid, and he'd have nightmares, but he wouldn't be scarred for life.
This is one of those movies that you suggest to somebody who's like, oh, I have an 8-year-old. How do I break them into horror movies? And you're like, oh, watch Critters or watch Gremlins or watch The Fog, because it has enough scare in it.
Yeah.
Image-wise. Like, I remember when I was a kid, all the scenes where, especially like the old lady, the babysitter, opening that door and that fog just billowing into the house. And the kid's being real annoying. He's like, "Oh, you want to see?" And she's like, and the moment he turns to walk out, that's when the arm comes and grabs her. Like it's a haunted house. It's like it's just a spooky haunted house from 1980.
Good jump scares in there too.
Good jump scares and good imagery. Like I love that, and I totally forgot about the scene with the driftwood when it started leaking salt water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and I totally forgot about that.
What did it say? Six must die or something like that?
Yeah, and it was like, you know what this reminded me of, Dan? Like an old 1940s radio broadcast.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Like when I'm watching it, I'm like, I was getting like a War of the Worlds kind of feel. Like you can almost see these people in a studio doing multiple parts in different microphones. And like it just seemed like a radio play.
Well, and it helps that it's like tied together so much by Adrienne Barbeau. This kind of voice in the ether, bringing people together in an old-fashioned kind of way. Yeah, I could totally see that.
My drawbacks for it, they were sticking out like crazy. Like I was just like, the whole Tom Atkins, Jamie Lee Curtis romance was not necessary. Like it was, you pick up a hitchhiker and then they fall in love within a day.
I don't know if they fell in love.
Not only is it unnecessary, it just seems unnatural. There was no chemistry there. It was just like.
But it would have made more sense if they were already together. Like to make her a hitchhiker, kind of coming into the scene, it kind of stuck out.
A lot of things about this movie were kind of like that. It where I'm just kind of like, why is anybody doing what they're doing?
Right.
Why is anyone, with the original, the original story, the original 6. It's like, why did we all plot to do this? Like, what?
Well, I think that was a cool backstory.
Why?
The problem is it kind of got lost in the modern stuff, but that whole story of a 1800s town totally screwing over these sailors and like I had no problem with that.
And
at
how
all.
did they turn the priest? Like, right? Did it, like, because
the new one or the original?
No,
the original.
original. Like, he's a priest, and he's he's supposed to be
I think they were all greedy. They were all just
greed.
I
That's it.
think the sin of greed. That's one of the oldest stories in time.
I don't know, man.
And how did the priest end up with a grandson who's also a priest? I was trying to figure out the metaphysics of that.
They could get married. They could have children.
But that guy was not. He didn't strike me as a guy who like came from a. He was so isolated in that church. He doesn't strike me as somebody who came from like a warm, loving family. Like they were trying to kind of have their cake and eat it too, is what they were doing. Like,
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But that
I don't know, man. If someone came to me and they were like, "Listen, George, there's this van. It's coming into this parking lot at a certain date and time. It's got millions of dollars in it. And what we're going to do is we're going to steal those dollars." And be like, dude, I can't be bothered. Honestly, like, I don't care how many millions of dollars it is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be bothered. You know what I mean?
What if it was not dollars, but instead plutonium? And what if the person asking you to do it was Doc Brown?
Okay. I'm in.
Right.
But any other scenario, it's like, dude, we could make $1 million. We can make $10 million. Like, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Yeah, but I think the underlying story there is you're thinking modern. These are like downtrodden, almost like starving to death people, like basically settlers of this small, ocean town that they want to establish, but they can't because they don't have the funds, they don't have the whatever. So I think they're greedy in the fact that they're going to screw this guy over, and they do it royally to the point where the town's now cursed. And not to mention did they have leprosy or did they get leprosy? Like, I don't remember how the leprosy worked.
There's a leper colony involved, but they're not very great on the details. It's one of those things though where it's like, there are no consequences. The consequence though is this curse. Like, there was no way for them to be stopped, right? They had their little conspiracy. It was going to work out. No one could stop them, and really, no one in their time could, even bring repercussions upon them. What they didn't take into account was the curse that would fall.
I think it would have been cool if they established early, because they were talking about the 6, right?
Yeah.
Somehow,
and they called themselves conspirators.
I just think their guilt was kind of taking over in the. You talking about the journal entries?
Yeah, the journal.
I think it's almost like confessional.
He's talking about the conspirators, like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But if they would have established last names, 6 last names, and then established that the modern people have those last names, then you're kind of seeing that these are the lineage of the original founders that screwed over these pirates or these lepers. And they're not going to wipe the whole town out. They're there to deal with the 6 people that are descendants of the people that screwed over Blake.
It almost seems silly that they didn't do that, because that would have been a cool movie.
Because it's like you have they kind of established it with the priest having the same last name as the original priest.
Well, yeah, but we got to get a checklist. You got to have at least one who like can't understand why the ghosts are chasing her, and then she's like, "But my mother's maiden name was."
She's got to have like a Jeff Goldblum moment where he's like, the countdown. It's a countdown. It's like that one character that figures the shit out and says, "Listen, your great great grandfather and her great great grandmother screwed over this Blake guy with Father Malone or Marone or whatever it was." Like, that would have been a cool established thing, because then now you're seeing why that fog is passing over certain houses and not passing over others. Like, it's going after the sheriff. It's going after the old lady babysitter. It's going after the DJ. going after the priest. So now you're establishing these are the 6 people that are descendants of the original 6. And that would have added a lot of, I think, to the story.
I guess, yeah, but then the fog also goes after people that are not involved.
But I think they wouldn't have to do that, because then they could have shown this fog. It's almost. Did you ever see Twister?
The tornado movie?
Yeah, she says a line in the movie where she's like, "You've never seen, a tornado miss this house and miss that house and come right after you." Like it's
yeah.
To me, it would have been kind of cool to see that fog kind of winding through those streets and not picking off whoever it touches, but actually Michael Myersing the town and going after certain people and arriving at certain destinations and missing others.
Okay.
That would have been kind of cool.
And then the water turns to blood.
Maybe.
And then frogs and stuff.
And then they could have ended it with that kid being like the last descendant.
Because you said Passover. I thought the same thing, Dan.
I just kept thinking of you've never seen that movie, man. I was thinking of 10 Commandments. I had it in my head.
Yeah.
I think I have seen that.
You said
actually.
you hadn't seen that. We have the tape.
Roll it back.
Wait, 10 Commandments. Isn't that...
Yeah, when we talked about Westworld, we were like, you've seen Yul Brynner. He's Ramses in 10 Commandments. You're like, I've never seen that.
Right.
You have to have seen
I have,
it.
though.
Growing
I
up
think
Catholic,
I've seen it on
you have
TV
to
when I was a kid.
It,
yeah, when I was a kid on
It's like
TV.
saying I've never seen the full Ben-Hur, but I've seen enough of it to think I've seen it.
I mean, I know about
Ben-Hur.
I know that. Yeah, I know that all those, Old Testament
there were background
stories
noise
anyway.
in your house.
Yeah.
Your mom's like, "Oh, it's time for greatest story
That's-
ever told." Sit
Actually,
down.
that's just about the only movie I saw as a child, but I never actually watched it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe
it's
that.
It's the only movie plot that I knew when I was a kid. So, yeah.
The book is better.
Yeah, the book is way
better. Like to me, my other issue was it was like a 2-night event. Like, what was that all about? Like they were supposed to arrive on April 21st, but they're knocking on 2 doors and just kind of like saying ha ha and then leaving. Like I didn't know what that was all about. Just because they ran out, they I don't know. To me, it was just like they wanted to establish, because that was cool when Atkins like landed a date night with the hitchhiker, and then the entity comes to the door and raps at the door.
When does the straight up Michael Myers like shape?
Yeah,
it was so cool. That's such a cool image. That part is cool. Awesome. George, do you have any idea who Tom Atkins is?
He was the main character,
the guy who picked up the hitchhiker. You've never seen
the
him
guy
in
who was
anything.
playing.
No. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He was
the
at the con that you went
Jamie
to,
Lee
but
Curtis,
you didn't meet anybody.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was there.
He's a guy who, after this movie, takes off, right? Like, he doesn't do a whole... He does some stuff in the 60s and 70s, but this movie and then a couple of movies to follow really put him on the map. And he ends up dominating, like, a whole subsection of 80s horror movies to where, like, he's a nostalgic hero for all of us.
I definitely know his
You're
name,
going to
though.
see him.
He has a lot of gravitas. Like, don't let him near your girlfriend or mother, because that guy's got charisma.
Gotcha.
And apparently a huge hog.
I mean, one can surmise, right?
Yeah. But I think a lot of that had to do with maybe a meeting between Jamie Lee Curtis and Carpenter where she said, listen, I want to play the complete opposite of Laurie Strode. He basically wrote...
It's like the upside down Laurie Strode from Stranger Things.
Like she was just like, not only am I goody two-shoes, but I'm going to bang this guy, like, the car's still running.
Immediately.
It's like, the window's just broke. He's hot. Let's go bang.
I thought it was weird that she was like a sketch artist, too, because it's like Alice from Friday the 13th, the same year, does the same kind of sketch art. Like, I don't know what they're both referencing, that they would both simultaneously do that, but it's also funny that Alice is from California in the Friday the 13th movie, so it's like her sister. This family's had a hell of a week, right?
But what was weird with her, and I think if they would have established that they were together for a while and she was actually from that town, a lot of the other things that pissed me off would have made sense. Like her obviously running to bed with him really quick. It was strange because they weren't acting like... It was kind of funny. He was like, oh, what's your name? And then she's like, and what's yours? So that kind of established that a lot. by just those 2 lines. But there was a lot of forced chemistry there that shouldn't have happened yet.
Yeah, like the dialogue and like just the first lines in the car.
And putting your arms around each other, like all those things are like
no, but
relationship
like,
type stuff.
Like check it out. Like the first conversation in the car was like supposed to be flirtatious, I guess. Like, are you weird?
Are you weird? Yeah.
You know, it's like, I've never hitchhiked before. Okay, well then the last guy was weird, and he's like, thought you said this was your first time hitchhiking. You know what I mean? Like that whole
You're my 14th.
That whole exchange was just awkward.
Yeah.
And did not feel like it was going to lead to banging.
Right.
It felt like it was going to lead to
police station.
Yeah. Like,
but then they double down and they show that bedroom scene, and then within an hour of that, where they introduce each other after they've banged,
yeah,
they're
still
now
awkward.
embracing each other for like sympathetic reasons, like the dead fisherman. Like, she was acting like she's known these people forever. She's shook.
Yes.
She's got these faces, and I'm like, wait, she doesn't know anybody's name in this
which goes
town.
back to my original question: why are any of these people doing any of these things?
Right.
Why is George questioning it? It's a movie about pirate ghosts. We are not watching The Goonies with you, man.
Oh God, no Goonies.
I've seen The Goonies. I love that movie.
Why are any of those people doing the things they're doing?
It's a treasure hunt, dude. Kids hunt treasure, bro. That's what they do.
Nah, yeah,
it's instinct.
No problems with that movie.
Not at all, bro.
And the relationships are not as forced as in this movie.
No, there's chemistry there.
Yeah.
Now, you guys notice that Jamie Lee Curtis's character mentions that she's from Pasadena.
Mm-hmm.
That's intentional. George, do you get that reference?
Yeah.
How's her walls?
Pasadena thin walls,
same.
man.
Yeah, that's where Halloween is.
Got those
Did
thin
you
ass
notice
walls.
the Psycho reference?
Oh no!
Which one?
Oh,
Two weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row. Janet Leigh is in this movie.
Yeah.
Who is from Psycho, and that is Jamie Lee Curtis's mother. She plays
I noticed.
Coordinator of the event.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's also in H2O. I don't know if you remember, George, but
she was better in Halloween too.
And Nancy Loomis, who is...
I saw the name Loomis in the credits.
Yes, she's playing the same character from Halloween.
She's the personal assistant of Janet Leigh. Did you recognize Annie in this movie? Because Annie's in this movie.
She's got the same hair, the same dress, and the same station wagon.
But she looks older, and she has sunglasses.
Right. She does not look bad. She's got nice...
Well, I think she's playing her own age, right? So she doesn't look like a 30-year-old teenager anymore. She looks like a 30-year-old.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is appropriate. That's good.
Yeah, and they gave her just enough lines to where she was, and she didn't whine at all. So she actually was tolerable. I'm trying to think. I guess the kid did the most whining.
The kid was terrible.
The acting, there's a lot of problems with the acting in this movie. But again, it's just like Halloween. It's the friends and family syndrome.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I mean, and also like I hate to rag on a kid. Like it's gotta be incredibly rare to find a kid actor that's
especially
really
back
good.
Then. Like
yeah, exactly. It's gotta be so bad. Like it's gotta be so difficult to find.
You're not gonna get a Haley Joel Osment back in 1979.
Yeah.
Although Reagan.
True.
You do.
I mean, but even Reagan was older than he was. He was like 8. Reagan was,
but
like,
it still falls on the director. I think Carpenter has the same problem that Lucas has. They have amazing vision. They're great at storytelling. They're
awful
get
at
shit
directing,
done, and they are terrible acting teachers and directors. Like Carpenter has a part in this movie, and he's awful.
Yeah.
Did you catch that at all, George? Did you recognize?
No, I didn't. Who is?
If that man directed me, I'd be like, dude, don't tell me how to deliver any lines because that was terrible.
The priest's assistant at the beginning of the movie who wants to get paid, and the priest is like, come in late tomorrow morning. That's John Carpenter.
That's JC, huh?
Yeah. But
friend of the show.
He read it. He read the line. That's all he did. And I'm like, he didn't even punctuate, didn't pause, nothing.
It's bad, man.
Yeah. So I was just like, wow, if that was my director, I get it. I'm on board. If John Carpenter ever wants me to do anything, I'm on board because I can do the acting part for you.
But you're gonna be like Tom Brady and bring in your own like personal trainer.
I'll just tell him to stay his own lane. Like, to me, some directors just can't.
Listen, JC, I saw your role in The Fog. The guy who works, air quotes, works for the priest.
Right. And you want to get paid?
I'll do my own acting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I'll handle the character development here.
You handle the story and the vision. Hand everything off to somebody else.
Yeah. But that was bad. So you can tell.
Although I shouldn't rag. Here's the thing. Again, like, it sounds like I'm ripping John Carpenter, which I kind of am. But also, like, dude made a movie.
Well, Dan knows him really well, so
that's true. But how crazy is this? Dude made a movie, right?
Right.
That how millions of people have seen.
Mm-hmm.
What have I ever done?
I don't know.
Like, if I made a movie, would it be half as good? No. So who am I?
You would call it butt work.
But yeah, dude, think about that. Dude made a movie.
You're right.
He made lots of movies.
But he can't direct actors.
No, he can't.
Because even is it Cypress? What's the name of the guy who plays the cop who's Sheriff Brackett from Halloween?
No.
Oh, Dan the Weatherman?
Yeah, Dan the Weatherman. Oh my God. Wow.
I like him a lot.
Great, right?
No.
I like everything he does. I don't know. I must just be I'm rounding up for him.
Think about how pivotal that scene is where he's talking to the radio host.
Mm-hmm.
And
on the phone.
It's like towards the end. And she's saying, that fog is like right on top of you. Where is it? And he's like, it's outside my house.
It's outside my window.
My window.
Someone's knocking at the door.
And it's like, oh, come on, dude.
Some drunk guy's being funny.
Just the delivery was terrible. Terrible.
As my mother would say, terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible. Just terrible.
Haters gonna hate. I like.
No,
Dan.
I love this. I love this movie, but watching it recently, again,
I'm gonna turn the tables on you. You asked me what I didn't like, or why this movie doesn't do it for me. Why the hell do you guys like this movie?
I think I already said some of it.
Yeah, I know you did.
I mean, image-wise, imagery, story.
But I mean, I think we've sat here for like a half an hour talking about all the things that we would have changed. So why the hell do you guys like this movie? I think I have a leg here.
You said you didn't like the LED light.
I don't like the LED eyes.
Rob Bottin, who Rob Bottin,
do I?
Is a special effects artist for this movie. He made a little bit of effects in The Thing.
Okay.
The shit he did in The Thing was only a year and a half after this?
Yep.
Yeah. So 81 that came out. So they probably were starting The Thing right after they finished this.
Okay, well, The Thing was way better than this.
Yes.
And actually, even
but that's studio money.
Even The Thing, even with the studio money and The Thing, some of the effects in the Thing were great and some were not so good.
Right.
But
but for a ghost story,
I didn't think the effects in this were good at all, bro.
A lot of it was for the time. Again, it's a lot of this movie is ambiance and setting.
Yeah.
It's not like
all right, so this is 1980. What year was The Shining?
Came out in 1980.
Oh, that was 80 as well?
Yeah,
okay.
But they'd done 4.5 years of production and a couple millions
they started
and millions of dollars.
In 68.
So I'm trying to put it whenever you say for its time, I always think of a really old movie that's amazing because I guess maybe because it didn't push the limits.
Or did it?
Maybe the director understood what could be done.
Mm-hmm.
And just said, okay, I want to take it further, but the technology's not there. It looks like garbage. Just get rid of it.
When I say
the
for
movie's
its
better
time,
for it when it doesn't have, when they don't try to go overboard more than they're capable of.
Because I'm old AF, when I say for its time, I'm usually saying I remember being alive when this came out.
Yeah.
And I remember the movies that were on TV. So if you're watching, like, when did Salem's Lot come out?
Like 86, 89, somewhere in that range.
That was the TV. So when you think of Salem's Lot, it's it's a TV movie. I know that, most of the fans know that, but if someone's coming out of the dugout and don't know anything about those shows, they're going to watch and go, oh, well, that was kind of lame, or that was this. And then someone like me would say, well, for the time, that was pretty fucking good for a TV movie. Like, it was like...
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a curse and a blessing. Like, when you think about the ambiance in The Exorcist, that was made before this. But you have a seasoned director with studio money and A-list actors trying to set a tone. This is a guy in his backyard with the same 3 people that he just made Halloween with, and the same bag of leaves, and and the same pack of cigarettes. Right. Like, he was literally, to make The Fog, was blowing cigarette smoke in front of the camera.
You realize that you're making the Kevin Smith argument.
No, I know I am.
Yeah,
I am.
Okay.
But I'm still ripping on the acting.
Well, and
with Kevin Smith,
he's like, so I'm consistent.
I'm consistent with movies that have low budgets.
A lot of these concerns could be voiced against Halloween. Like, if you hadn't loved Halloween as much as you did right away, George, a lot of these same arguments can be made against Halloween. It's just, that is the nature of low budget filmmaking in the late 70s when they're making this movie.
I don't see it.
If anything, a lot of I would say Carpenter actually learned a bit from Halloween. In that,
and Precinct 13, like, there's a lot of Precinct 13 in this movie.
Oh, there certainly is. But you know, he doesn't overexpose the ghosts, right? My complaint about the first Halloween is like, here's Michael Myers, here he is again. Here's this statue of Michael Myers. Hey, look, he's here again. You saw him, and he's still on the screen, and now it's not a mystery anymore. Like, he does a good job in this movie of like not showing you the full ghosty until the very last scene. And then he's got my ghost because those eyes are all glowy and creepy out of nowhere. That's the trick, right? You don't focus on the fact that they're cheap, not even LED, right? They're probably like some old like
tea lights inside of glasses,
incandescent lights behind red plastic or something. Yeah. He's like hacked part of a car off and took the taillights and made. But anyway, that is an unexpected thing. It's supposed to get your ghost. Boom. Eyes. Ooh, shoot. They're all red and glowy. Ugh, I don't want to focus on the fact that...
And it also is a way to establish that he's Blake. He's the leader. So it's like, you hear this name a few times in the journal entries. How do you establish, like, if it were a pirate movie, he would be the one with the monkey on the shoulder. Or he would be the one carrying the skull and crossbones flag. Like...
With the hook for a hand.
Yeah, so with this, it was like, all right, they're already established that they're basically decomposing silhouettes. That was the choice they made. And then there's scenes where they show their hands, and you can see they're wrapped, so they kind of establish the leprosy thing. They're wrapped in the fabric on their fingers. And then one of them had like maggots in its skin or whatever. So they were going with ambiance as opposed to with Myers, where it was like, all right, we're going to brand the shit out of this, and this is our killer, this is his face, this is what he looks like, and this is what we're doing. With this, it was more like, this is the story, here's the silhouettes, let's put them in cool positions and make them eerie and spooky. But we need to establish one of them's the leader, but they're not wearing pirate hats because they're really not pirates, so let's try to figure out how to do it. Okay, we'll give them red eyes.
Yeah, how do you make something stand out as different than the others when you really can't show any of them for an extended amount of time to, overexpose their makeup?
You only show one of them.
I mean, it's not unlike the Ninja Turtles in the movies and cartoons having different colored what are they?
Which is not original.
They're little bandanas. Because in the comics they all have the same
red
color.
In the original.
Idanas?
Yeah,
they're
were
Idanas.
Identified by their weapons. They weren't identified by colors.
You realize we just made up the word Idana?
Idana.
I'm on board with
totally missed it.
I'm on board with Idana. That's on a t-shirt.
Idana.
He said Travis over here. He's like, well, I mean, they all had
just
red.
Right over that.
They all had red bandanas, and their weapons were different. It's like, dude, we just invented the word Idana.
All right, rewind it. Anyway, okay.
Now that
What
we've
were we talking about?
now that we've identified the problem.
Hey,
Oh, I quit. Slam the door.
Get your check on the way out.
Oh man, we did talk about jump scares earlier. That one on the boat. Oh my gosh, it's so good, and it's like good, clean fun. But it's the I think I'll go to Vancouver now after the initial like
it's
random.
It's the double.
Yeah, it's the double. The
that gets
first
you.
one goes, you're just like, oh, good, she's gonna go to Vancouver now. Bam, dead body.
Yeah,
So good.
that's a good one. Dude. Most of the time, the jump scares don't get me. That one did. Not that like
And you
it
got
was
your
so scary.
traditional Jamie Lee Curtis scream from that as well.
Yeah, she did. And just the one after the other, it's like this boom, and it's like whatever it is, light bulbs or something. And you're like, oh, okay. And then it's like boom, another one is like, wasn't expecting that one. That was good. That was good.
But again,
because jump scares are only good when you're not expecting them,
it,
right? So
yeah,
that was a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there were a few in this movie. I have a.
And they were only there to wake you up, because while you're watching the movie, and you're kind of like dozing off a little bit, and it's like boom, jump scare.
I watched this movie at 2 a.m. and I didn't fall asleep. So
I'm just kidding.
But I hear you. I understand. It was.
I'm only half kidding.
And you didn't have a childhood crush on Adrienne Barbeau, so she kind of keeps my attention as well.
No,
He might have an adulthood crush now.
which one was she?
That was the Stevie,
The
the,
radio.
the radio host.
Mm.
When she was one of my first, like, wow, not from this movie, but, and she's a nice person. Like, if you met her, she was also at the show that you didn't meet anybody. She's a very nice person to the fans.
It's funny.
But
It makes me wonder how you ended up with my sister.
why?
She's like the polar opposite.
Yeah. Oh,
Could you imagine Jen on a radio show?
God, no.
Now we're gonna play another song.
Everyone,
Really?
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's basically
She's Edith Bunker.
yeah, Edith Bunker. Basically.
I don't know why I don't have any listeners. I have 2 less listeners than you guys.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Oh shit.
Those were the days.
Aaron would be a fan of hers.
You think so?
Yeah. He'd be sending her content.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, where Aaron finds all this time.
Well, someone on YouTube told us to do The Last Starfighter. They're like, when are you guys doing The Last Starfighter? I'm like, oh, it's in the pile.
Oh yeah, man.
I just
It's
bought it on Blu-ray.
It's a very big pile.
Do they land in space on that movie?
Yeah, they land.
On
It's a
space.
fake.
It's a space
fake
landing.
space landing.
Oh man, historic faked space landing. Very important. One thing
No
that the
problem.
fog does, not to take away from Adrienne Barbeau, because damn, but
Damn.
I mean, dude, she's reading the weather report, just like, hey, here's the weather, babe.
She's
That's
like
true.
Delilah. She's Delilah.
She is Delilah.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's trying too hard for me, though.
But you notice she had a radio voice and a regular voice.
Yeah, no, she was
Absolutely.
good at
That
it.
was pretty sweet. She's like, get over here right now. It is 5:03. And it's like, whoa. Like, really?
It's like,
you were just...
If you're trying to stay up, I'll try to keep you up.
Succeeded.
Jim's tires. Yeah. I would give her like every commercial to read. Here, just read this one.
I like how all the weather reports were about fog.
Mm.
They didn't throw in like anything else.
And there was no traffic.
about
so
weather.
couldn't really do traffic.
Yeah, there was no traffic.
Well, that's the thing, man. Coastal California, Northern California of all things, it's 76 the whole year round. Why do you need to tell anybody? And yeah,
It's
no
true.
LA traffic, so you're stuck with
It's like the
fog,
Truman
guys.
Show.
It is like the Truman Show. Now, one thing, and this actually kind of ties into the Truman Show. What the hell? One thing I thought Carpenter did really well in this movie. Stick with me here. I'm only half bullshitting. The world the fog exists in seems much bigger than Halloween, right? Like Haddonfield is like 2 blocks square, And the fog,
unless you're driving with some pot in the car, then it's like the size of Colorado.
Well, that's true.
It's all of a sudden dark. Why is it dark?
But Antonio Bay seems like kind of expansive and wide, and they do a good job of like creating distance. But then when the lights go out, and when nighttime hits, even before the fog gets there, there's like an overwhelming claustrophobia in every shot, right? The camera is close. Everything is tight. Everyone is kind of crammed into different spaces, be it like a truck or a boat or a bedroom or a radio station. Like it's just, it kind of collapses in.
Well, they do that in the very beginning. Like when that person's sweeping up the store, I'm like, geez, how does that guy even move around in there? He turns around.
You know what
like,
I thought
he's
when he
in
was
the fridge.
When he was sweeping the floor? I'm like, who the hell sweeps the floor like that? Like 2 inches at a time.
Well, who the hell drinks orange juice out of the container and puts it back in the fridge?
Well, it's just like that guy in Friday 3.
A bit of a douche, that guy.
You know what I thought about that? I was like, okay, that's obviously outlandish, right?
Right.
But maybe if you give the guy the benefit of the doubt, that's his orange juice.
Grab it on the way out.
That he's just keeping in the refrigerated section to keep it cold.
But he did kind of bury it. Like a douche. It's like those assholes that take the lid off the ice cream and lick it and put it back on.
Yeah, but then I was like, nah, that's not it. Also, did you guys notice the wine bottle? This was really mysterious. Like maybe the most mysterious thing of the whole movie.
Go on.
In the John Carpenter scene, the priest, Father Maloney or whatever his name is, pours himself a glass of wine, offers JC some wine. He declines, asks to be paid. JC leaves the room.
Yeah.
Then, I don't know why.
2 completely different people come in from the sack
he remembers that he needs to talk to JC about something else. I forget what it was. It wasn't important anyway. Mm-hmm. And when the camera switches,
he left his radio
there. The bottle of wine goes from having no cork in it to being corked in a second.
Ooh.
Is this very eerie.
Is this the Wendy theory?
It must have been the ghosts. Well, the second shot was from behind.
Oh. I mean, I'm
back
in.
into the left.
I'm in.
So, I didn't check for light switches, though.
No. Well, the other thing, it was out of whack.
But that happened in the first 5 minutes, and I was like, well, that sets the tone for this movie. For me.
Yeah, no, I was too busy crying about John Carpenter's acting in that scene. I didn't notice that. Yeesh.
But then again, it is a movie.
It is a movie made for like $1 million bucks, you know.
That lots of people have seen and like, so.
This is ranked pretty high in people's all-time scary movies. I'm sure most of them are my age, and it's like a nostalgia thing.
I'm telling you, man, even without nostalgia, this movie can be appreciated. Now, I think in my case, I'm coming from seeing all the Halloween movies for 20 years. So maybe I've built a net of nostalgia. And so when I see Dean Cundey, Tommy Lee Wallace, Deborah Hill, Nancy Loomis, the guy that plays Sheriff Brackett, Jamie Lee Curtis, like everybody, the gang's all here, man.
Yeah, the gang's all here. It's like watching a Scooby-Doo episode. Like he's just waiting for the Sheriff Brackett to take the mask off.
It was Old Man Loomis the whole time.
The whole time. I shot him 6 times.
And I would have gotten away with it.
If you left a dent in the rug.
Oh, man.
I found it funny that Tom Atkins' character name was Nick Castle.
Yeah, did you? Okay, so George, there's a million little things that you probably didn't catch. Did you catch that his name was Nick Castle?
I did.
Did that name mean anything to you?
I was going to ask you who Nick Castle is, because I know it's someone
friend of the show. Friend of the show.
Yeah,
played Michael Myers in the first and in the most recent.
Yeah, friend of the show, Nick
Did
Castle.
a video for us telling everybody to watch The Fall Break and calling Travis Trevor. Friend of the show, Nick Castle. This character is named after him on purpose.
Trevor is on my birth certificate.
Is it really?
No.
Oh, okay.
but enough people through my life have called me Trevor that I'm not fine with it. Not fine with it. It's not good. But whatever. It's still Nick Castle.
It was still cool.
He thought about saying my name.
I appreciated Nick Castle doing that for us. He's a nice guy.
Yes. Big fan. There's a few names in this movie Is it Tommy Wallace is another character name?
Is there? I know Tommy Lee Wallace produced this movie. Was there a character named Tommy Wallace?
Can you, George? Can you fast forward this a little bit?
Let's look at that cast.
I believe there's a Tommy Wallace in this movie as well, character-wise.
Here's a little. Here's a hack for you guys. If you're ever thinking about starting a movie podcast, after you've watched the movie, just like leave the first page of the credits up, and you get all the characters' names and the actors' names.
So you sound like you know what you're talking about.
There is a Tommy Wallace. Look
like,
at that, played by George Buckflower.
Buckflower.
Oh, Charles Cyphers, who's Sheriff Brackett.
Oh yeah.
Pause that. He plays Dan O'Bannon.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't realize his last name was O'Bannon. That's funny.
It was involved in making Alien, right? Was he the writer director? He was a director. No,
he's the writer. He wrote.
He was the writer. Ridley Scott directed it. Yeah, so Dan O'Bannon wrote it. There was one other name in here.
Keep going.
Yeah, I think there was one more name I saw. I was like, hey,
George
Buckflower.
Flower.
It was Tommy Wallace.
And Tommy Lee Wallace played one of the ghosts. So look at that.
Yes.
So, I remember a story when I was a kid, because I'm a 90s kid. We read a lot of Goosebumps back in my day. I remember R.L. Stine talking about his process. And this was in something I would have read. So it would have been like in an interview intended for kids. And he basically was like, I name my characters by looking at like enrollment sheets from my kid's school. So like, he's just like, oh, that's a funny name. Let me put this one in my story. I think I figured out John Carpenter's process.
Wouldn't it be funny if the kids whose names he chose ended up living out the story that he chose for them in the book?
I think that's a whole nother meta book, man.
Isn't that the plot line of the Jack Black Goosebumps movie?
Jack Black Goosebumps.
Yeah, where he plays R.L. Stine and his characters come to life.
I never saw it.
Oh, when the books are opened, the characters come out of the books.
But when I think of Stranger Than Fiction.
Oh yes, the Will Ferrell.
And I'm sure that that's not the first time that that's been done.
No.
Where the book kind of defines the person's story in the movie. I'm sure it had to have been done before.
It's been done a few times, yeah.
As they say, it is written.
It is.
I don't think Carpenter did any of that for The Thing. I don't think any of the character names in that movie. But then again, Deborah Hill wasn't involved in writing that, was she?
Interesting point.
So she might be the one doing it. Hey, didn't we know a Tommy Wallace? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, he's producing the movie. He's standing right over there at Craft Services, dressed like a ghost.
And isn't his wife Nancy Loomis, or at the time his girlfriend, or
Nancy Loomis was married to the costumer from Halloween, one of the costumer guys.
Maybe it's one of those things.
His name.
Maybe it's one of those things where you're like trying to be original, and like you like pull something out of your brain that's like in there for a reason, but you don't know what the reason is, and you're like, this name sounds great. It's totally original. I never heard it before in my life.
No, I mean he's just naming characters after his
people
friends, which is fun.
Just kidding.
It's a lot of
What's
fun.
funny is they did that.
Although that happens though.
Yeah,
sometimes
they
like
did
you
that.
think you have an idea and it's just like an idea from something else and it's not yours and you don't realize.
Yeah, I'm sure that never happened in the creating of Halloween. Not one.
Like they're writing Halloween. They named the Dr. Loomis. I don't know if they had already cast Nancy Loomis, but there's the Loomis. And
yeah, but that Loomis. I think that's a coincidental Loomis.
The Loomis from
it's the Psycho reference. Because they have so many names from Psycho and Halloween that like.
Oh yeah, but then it goes full circle, and you have Scream, where they take all the characters from Halloween and name their characters in Scream from movies that were based on Psycho characters. Like it's just, I love that. That's good stuff.
Well, and then Debbie Sue Voorhees pops up, gets cast in Friday 5, and like. I mean, that's just good casting. And by the way, by the time this podcast launches, she's got a movie called 13 Fanboy coming out on, I assume, streaming.
Are you in it?
I wish. But it's a lot of our favorite actors and actresses from the Friday series, meta being chased by like a stalker who's obsessed with those movies. So like Kane Hodder's in it.
Nice.
Judy Aronson is in it. A lot of actors and actresses from those movies are in that movie, and I'm excited. It'll launch this Friday, October 22nd, and I'm there.
I'm there. Sign me up.
So, Kane Hodder or Nick Castle? One's got to go.
Why? Why has
who is
one
it?
got to go? Let's keep them both.
It's just a hypothetical. Come on, it's fun.
Are they going to fight it out?
No.
Because I got my money on Kane if they're fighting.
Kane looks like he did 20 years ago, and Nick Castle looks like he aged about 50 years.
All right, so I'm going Kane.
Yeah.
Keep Kane because he threatened my life.
Yes.
And so I have certain feelings for him.
But what's cool about Kane is if you run into him at a hotel, you just buy him a beer and he'll hang out with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
He's like a
I'm
regular
assuming
average
Nick Castle's
Joe.
the same way. I'm not sure. But I've seen Kane actually get shots bought for him, and then he just puts people in headlocks, and he's out of control.
It's good shit.
Yeah. And he wears his baseball gloves all the time, his batter's gloves.
Yeah.
That have little hockey masks on them.
Yeah.
He wears them 24/7. It's hilarious.
He's got tan lines.
Yeah.
But you'd never know it because the gloves never actually come off.
It's true.
This movie kicks a little bit of butt. But I don't think it was the butt you were looking for.
I wasn't looking for any particular
These
butt.
are not the butts you're looking for.
I wasn't. Because like I said before, I have no idea.
You probably
what
had
to
some
expect.
expectations when you, because Carpenter puts his name above every title. So when you're watching the opening credits, it says John Carpenter's The Fog.
Yeah.
So you're automatically gonna go, and then you see the next, second name, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Not necessarily, because we watched Halloween 2,
Right.
and this movie was presented to me as
The next step.
John Carpenter's where John Carpenter's head was at,
Mm.
what he actually was giving a crap about while he was making Halloween 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was expecting, like, I don't know, like something more
Scary.
something more epic, something more thought out, like something more like just I don't know.
He was a
Better.
year and a
I don't
half
know.
with this movie. He was a year and a half away from epic.
Well, and he
Like,
had Escape from New York come out the next year. So, I mean, he had basically three of his biggest hits after Halloween with The Fog, Escape from New York, and then The Thing, which at the time we talked about, not the hugest hit, but now like
Right.
well regarded by everyone because it's so good.
Yeah. And he was like world building. Like if you ever see Escape from New York, you'll see that that's John Carpenter's version of if he were to make an epic, sprawling kind of Star Wars-esque kind of IP. Like
Okay.
it's his version of like a Judge
A
Dredd
space
type
landing.
world. Not a space landing, but
just
like a futuristic world of,
Okay.
a post-apocalyptic world.
Okay.
But done John Carpenter's way. So it still has that low budget feel, the same not the same exact actors. By then he has established a relationship with Kurt Russell, so Kurt Russell becomes his new Jamie Lee Curtis,
Mm.
and they make pretty good movies together, those two.
Cool.
Now, another thing that I don't know that this would ever hit the button for George. But The Fog is a good example of a movie made with basically an acting troupe, right? Like, it's the same guys again because it has to be the same guys because we're making these movies as a team. And it's hard because American movies, especially now, don't do this as much, right? There's so much bureaucracy in the studios, and big pictures don't tend to, unless they're just casting John Cena in everything at the moment. Like, you just don't get a lot of, like, you don't see the same 10 people on every movie. You might see the same one guy in everything for a while. Channing Tatum, we had like an era where that guy was in every movie. But the way that The Fog is made, oh my gosh. All right. All right. All right. Yeah. A future governor, Matthew McConaughey.
Yep.
Everything.
I think he skateboards.
He does a lot of things.
Yeah.
Pretty
He's
sure.
basically
Pretty
you.
sure he skateboards.
Yeah.
Here's a good bongo player.
All right.
It'd be a lot cooler if he did. But anyway, harkening back to, you guys know I love talking about giallos, right? But it's not just the giallos, the westerns, all the Italian movies, because there's like 50 actors in Italy at this time, in the 60s and 70s. The same 10 guys show up in every movie. And every time they do, you're like, oh, it's that guy. Oh, hey, it's that guy. We're here. We're home. We're here together working as a troupe to make a new production as a team, right? You see it a lot with like Coppola in the 70s. You see a lot of guys from The Godfather show up in Coppola's other work because it's like, hey, the guys are here. We're having fun, Fredo's back.
But wasn't it kind of established back then? It's kind of a new thing to just kind of be owner-operator. But back in the day, you signed a contract with a studio and you're a 10-picture deal or whatever it is that you did. And the same, lot of actors were always being put in Paramount movies or, Universal movies. So it was kind of like you became a team player. You bought into that uniform.
Yeah, but I'm talking about independent movies. These early Carpenters where he's got $1 million and has to make a movie that has to make more than that.
Yeah. Sam Raimi was the same way.
Sam Raimi, George Romero. If you ever see Knight Riders, guys, we're back to Knight Riders again. It's just the same guys from Dawn of the Dead making another movie. And Ed Harris is here for some reason. It's just
yeah. It's like a familiarity thing, kind of like, especially with like independent movies. I can imagine that like you have actors that you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Or effects guys or direct
or even better, you have an actor that like completely blows you away and you're like, I have this other character and like I want him to do it because like I know he's gonna blow me away at it. And like the director just like kind of has like some kind of like fanboy like love affair with an actor and just cast them in everything.
Yeah, like Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. Like they grew up like best friends, but I don't think if Sam Raimi could have cast Bruce Campbell as Spider-Man, he would have.
Right.
But he was just too old. But they work so well together, so you know the guy. You don't even have to direct him. He knows what you want.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing. Like when the actor and the director are truly really good, they can do anything.
Anything, right.
And it's like it doesn't feel like it's the same thing over and over again.
Like John Landis was that way with Belushi. Like,
yeah,
he could have put John Belushi in every movie he made, and he wanted to.
Right? Yeah.
But and Aykroyd too. But
yep,
they both said no. You can't use this for this too. You just use this for that. And
right.
It's like it's almost like a strange version of typecasting. But if John Landis was if I had a relationship with him, I'd want to be in every freaking John Landis movie ever made. I would just say, listen, I don't care if I'm playing the clerk at the convenience store. I want to be in everything you make.
I can think of one movie they wouldn't want to be in.
What, Twilight Zone?
I still have
stay away from the helicopter.
I need to watch that movie at some point, but I don't know. I'm gonna.
I want to get John Landis on the show one time, so we got to stop bringing that up.
Okay. Sorry.
That day you killed someone?
Oh God.
Oh boy,
dude, I'd love.
John Landis is one of my heroes.
To this day, An American Werewolf is like.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
You know, like how sometimes like you watch a movie and you're like, yeah, that was really good. I was like, that was really good.
It will stick with you.
That was a good movie. And then like more time passes and you're like, that movie is even better than I thought it was. Because
you're seeing it in reference to other things that are considered
and then
classics,
you continue living for a little bit longer and you go, you know what, damn, I was wrong. It's even better than I originally thought it was. And I was blown away originally.
That's why.
That's An American Werewolf in London for me.
And that's why when we hit our 100th episode, or 150.
Which is only like 40 episodes away or something.
We're going to sit down with George and get his top 10 movies that we've done so far.
Oh, it's such a good idea.
We have to do it because you're going to revisit shit and you're going to say, you know what, I hated this when I watched it, but now... And then Peter Weller told me I had to love this movie.
I'm going to save
it.
I'm going to save it for the pod, but I know exactly, right off the top of my head, example.
Yeah, we got to get at least 150 movies that you can pull 10.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll revisit them with someone who's never seen them. Something like
that. That's a great idea.
Because we've got to see RoboCop again now that Peter Weller has set you straight. You're going to want to watch this one again
It's
because
true.
your expectations will be different, and you'll be like, oh, I was being so shitty. This movie's actually really good.
Maybe, possibly.
And
I did like that it was a tragedy.
what's funny is I there's not only it's an opposite of a slasher film. Like there's not a final girl. There's a final victim. But there's not a final girl.
There's a final priest.
Yeah, everybody else survives. Like this is the first movie I've seen in a long time where everybody survives.
Yeah.
And then at the very end they're like, no. We're gonna kill the final girl who's a priest.
Yeah, it's funny about that. It's like that was one of the things that made zero sense to me.
What, him being beheaded?
Well, yeah, like why not? Like because he's got the cross, which is what he melted all the gold into.
Yeah.
Blah,
I think
blah,
it had
blah.
to do with the fact if they would have established the 6. He's one of the only people that shares the exact same name with the person that did that to them.
I get it.
So that's why he lost
I
his
get
head.
it, but all of that is established when Blake puts his hand on the cross and it turns to light
Mhm.
or whatever happened. Whatever's going on there.
When the priest hands that over to him, he does say to him, he basically damns himself.
He gives
says,
himself up, right?
I am at fault. Even just through my lineage.
Even though,
I'm at
okay,
fault.
so even though, all right, so
Which I don't
another
believe.
thing about this movie, because I'm an American,
Mhm.
because I'm from
America.
the West,
Right.
and the individual is paramount in the West,
Okay.
why should any of these people answer for what their grandparents did?
They're paying for the
'Cause-
sins of the fathers and grandfathers. That's
They're paying for the sins of the father, yeah.
And you can be like, you're not at fault for that. That was your granddad. He was an
Now,
ass.
how cool would it have been? Again, this is the difference between a 1980 movie and a movie today.
Okay.
What you're talking about, the same ending where the fog comes back into that church and father's the only one left there. And he has a moment, a breakdown, crying, sacrificial moment where he says everything you just said. And then they cut his head off anyway.
That would be great. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, like just pouring his heart out. Like,
Yep.
But I'm not them.
Yes.
I'm not them. Spare me.
No, not even
And then
that.
Blake is just
not even that.
like,
Like not
Done.
not spare me.
Yeah.
Just like totally renouncing that part of the family, that sin
Mhm.
or whatever, and just saying like, here it is. I put the ball in your court. You can show mercy or you can kill me because, I would want revenge too.
Right.
And you would want Blake to have mercy on Father Maloney, right?
Right.
You would want that. But then he kills him anyway. It would be great.
Kills him out. I think it
Yeah.
would have been great. And it would
Fantastic.
have given Father Maloney a moment of redemption.
Mhm.
And now his death is no longer a revenge death. It's now almost like a, I don't want to say sacrificial
It's not
lamb.
it's
but-
not a justified revenge death anymore.
Right, because he's begged for forgiveness. He's shown
Yes.
remorse. He's shown whatever. And technically, he didn't have to because, like you said, I'm not them. I'm
Yeah.
not. That should have been his thing. He should have kept repeating it.
Yeah.
And then they just lop his head off when he says that.
essentially, though,
Yeah.
you then turn Blake into Anton from No Country, which I'm fine with,
Yeah.
They're like,
exact-
oh, he's not going to
Yeah.
do it because, he looked at the bottom of his
Yeah,
shoe.
he's not gonna do this because he's gonna realize that this dude has nothing to do with this, and this dude's actually like a pretty good dude, not like his grandfather.
Yeah, because he had
Has
no
nothing to
idea
do with
about
him.
any of this shit
Listen,
2 days ago.
he might have never met his grandfather.
Right.
At all. It's
Now, if
possible.
Jordan Peele made this movie, that might have been the commentary.
Maybe.
I've really come around on Us, guys. It took me a long time, but now I totally get it, and it's really good.
No, I
It's
still don't like it.
good, man. I'm gonna have to watch it again though, but it's just so scary. The first hour or
It
so is
basically has
just,
the same thing that this movie has. It has great imagery and moments, but it's lacking in certain parts, like lacking in direction, lacking in acting.
I don't remember
So-
there being bad acting. I just remember thinking certain parts at the end didn't make sense, and then I had a light bulb moment And I was like, oh, that's why it didn't make. And now this movie's good, and I didn't get it. So I'm sorry, Jordan Peele. Us is good. I might like it better than Get Out.
Maybe we'll visit it as a cast or as a staff.
Patreon.
And maybe you can school me on why you like it, because I'm not sold on it.
It took me 2 years to come around though, and that's just because I'm kind of dumb and didn't get the end. I was like, oh.
Nah, I was on board for the first hour.
Maybe I can get you on board at the last.
Got a little
then.
Crazy. We'll see.
So George, The Fog. One of the reasons we had you watch it now, we wanted you to think of it in the context of a 1980 movie industry where there are no sequels to slasher movies yet. In fact, there really aren't many slasher movies besides Halloween.
Right.
Where would a director go to continue the energy that they left off with Halloween? If they were, say, and they weren't, but if they were going to say, make another movie in the spirit of Halloween, but kind of the inverse, right? You get the inverse of the Laurie Strode character with Jamie Lee Curtis playing kind of an edgy, a freewheeling kind of...
Freewheeling.
Yeah.
Free spirit.
Not tethered by the mores of the opposite of an uptight Laurie Strode. Happening exactly the opposite period from Halloween intentionally, right? Like 6 months, the other side of the calendar. So would this movie have any chance of success for you as a Halloween 2 instead of the Halloween 2 and the sequels that follow? Are you on board yet?
The idea of it, yes. The execution, nah, not really.
Now, what if we'd done Halloween 1 and 2? And then Michael Myers burned to a crisp. The Fog ends up your Halloween 3. And it's called Halloween 3, The Fog. How do you think you would have handled that?
Is Michael Myers the only one in the fog?
No Michael Myers in the fog. Michael Myers is dead. It's just a whole new story, but it's Halloween and we need a story. So we're doing a different story.
I don't know, because when you describe it like that, my first instinct is like, just make it a totally different movie. But then again, I keep coming back to that series, Black Mirror, which is like that. Also, you have like Twilight Zone, the series, which is like that. And both of those shows are great. So could you have a series of movies like that? I suppose.
Well, it's kind of like American Horror Story. Like they originally, their idea was, it kind of got out of hand, but the first season was this cast of characters telling the story, and then the next season was a totally different story. All the same actors playing different characters.
Yeah.
And
then season 3, they lost some actors, but they still had some people coming in playing the same actors, but playing different characters.
This is a very familiar sounding story, Travis.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell George what we're watching next week?
I don't know what we're watching next week.
George. Next week,
we said a few movies.
We will be watching a movie. A movie that really has a title that I think does a disservice to it, honestly.
Okay.
The movie we are going to be watching is Halloween 3, Michael Goes to Hell.
Stop it.
Halloween 3, Michael Goes to the Fog. What the fog?
Oh my gosh. No, we are going to be watching Halloween 3, actual subtitle for the movie Halloween 3, not making this one up. Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch.
Oh, this is going to be good. If you thought 2 was good,
hold on to your butts.
Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch.
Be prepared to take notes.
Season of the Witch. So, I mean, I kind of want to give you context.
A little bit.
Because I want you to give this movie a fair shake. Unlike what you did to The Fog, you bastard.
Okay. Which would have been better if it was called Halloween the Fog.
So a little bit of background for Halloween 3. Halloween 2, The Fog, I would much prefer than Halloween 2 we got. But that's just me. And most people. So Halloween 2, John Carpenter's heart's not in it. I've said that a dozen times on this show because I'm trying to get across to you that John Carpenter didn't give a flying fuck about Halloween 2, but he wrote it because the studio saw Friday 2 doing well and thought, hey, there's money here. We got to do more Michael Myers. To which John Carpenter's like, why would I write the same movie again? Ugh. At the end of Halloween 2, he burns Michael Myers all to hell, right? Like, that story is over if you let it be over.
Right. He's like, I should have did this in the first one, so I didn't have to do the second one.
Until Laurie Strode picks the mask up and puts it on and becomes Laurie Jason.
Laurie Jason.
Laurie Jason.
Laurie Michael.
Laurie Michael.
Laurie Michael. Laurie Michael, get in here. So
Saturday Night Live is born.
John Carpenter has his way. He has to make a Halloween 3. Instead of continuing the Michael Myers story, which for his all intents and purposes, he has ended in kind of one movie too late, he decides to go with the anthology feel, right? We're going to do Halloween. It'll be the third one, so we'll call it Halloween 3. But we're going to just start fresh and do a new thing. And then when this movie makes money, we'll do a Halloween 4 and it'll be about goblins or some shit.
Yeah, something
Halloween
else.
5, we got jack-o'-lanterns biting babies or something. You know, it's just, we're just going to do scary stories. Halloween happens every year. This is money to be mined from our audience. We'll just make one every year. It'll be fun. People will have fun. One problem, George. It's 1982. The media is not catching wind of what's going on. They see this weird subtitle. There's a trailer, but who sees trailers in the 80s? You know, I don't know. Why aren't people seeing the trailer? Maybe the trailer sucks. Maybe I should look it up and see. Hi, this is Dan in Post. Travis sent me the trailers after we recorded. They're fine, and they make it pretty clear what's going on. I guess people just didn't see the trailers? We'll cover this again, I'm sure, during the next episode, but the problem is the audience 100% goes to the theater, buys tickets, and expects Michael Myers to come back.
Can I step in for a second?
Do it,
since
man.
I am old AF.
Oh, yes, you're old AF. Tell us the perspective of the old man.
The commercial.
Were there lobby cards for this movie?
No. The commercial for Halloween 3 was all over the frickin' TV.
Okay.
They plugged the shit out of it. They played the theme song. They played up the Silver Shamrock stuff. So it's like there was a lot of promotion for this movie.
Was it made clear in the promotions that
the direction they were going?
This was going to be different?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's frustrating to me, to know that they did a good job of telling people and people are just too stupid to realize what they're buying. Ugh.
So it wasn't like a Spielberg E.T. And then
there's a lot of Spielberg E.T.
No. Like Spielberg E.T. and then what was the next one that came out? That was
Poltergeist. Yeah,
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
That was definitely not for kids. Yeah,
it's that kind of bullshit. But it's like when I remember, was it 83? You said? So I was 7, pushing 8. So that's like right when Return of the Jedi came out. So I was pretty aware of propaganda.
Dude, I love that. I love how you range your childhood as to when Return of the Jedi came out.
Yeah, what stickers were on my headboard?
Yeah, 82.
Were they Garbage Pail Kids? Were they Return of the Jedi? Or were they Empire Strikes Back?
Let me think of it, in terms of the most significant thing that happened in my childhood. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, 1983, Return of the Jedi. Boom. I remember being aware of what trailers were, ads in the newspaper. I started clipping and collecting newspaper ads for movies coming out. Posters in the newspaper. I was going to the video store, and they would always have a box by the front door that had posters of movies that they no longer were promoting. So I would grab those, all that stuff. So I was very involved in that mentality of promotion of movies in 1983.
Okay.
And I remember Halloween 3 being plugged like crazy on TV. I remember that that music being played, and they were counting on the fact that Halloween is an established word that surrounds an established
franchise.
Yep. But there was something wrong there.
Okay.
I remember watching it going, okay, I know what Halloween is, but this is not Halloween, but it's associated with Halloween. So I'm in. it's hard to explain because you don't know what I'm talking about. But when you see it, you'll go, "Oh, okay," and you'll see why it's such a
listen,
iconic movie.
Like I said
reasons.
before, I'm not totally against this idea. I've seen, like I said, Black Mirror, Twilight Zone. These are shows that I adore. So, but here's the thing: those things are done really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's got to be done well. Period.
Yeah.
You know.
When I got a little older,
we'll see.
I got that because Tales from the Crypt came out. It was an HBO show.
Mm-hmm.
Every week you get a new story, same Crypt Keeper talking, and then introing. You get these A-list actors doing these little half-hour vignettes. Tales from the Dark Side was on TV. That was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Creep Show.
I don't know any of these things, by the way, but I get it.
Yeah,
in relation to the things that I know that are doing this.
Twilight Zone, the movie, which we will definitely be watching, like that 83 to 90 span was constant bombardment of what we're talking about.
Okay.
What was it? What was the word you used, Dan?
Anthology.
Dan there. Anthology.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole anthology mentality. Creep Show is a big movie in my life. So the fact that they have new shows on now for Creep Show is pretty awesome, and Greg Nicotero is doing it.
Nice.
But it's just like those little half-hour stories that just live in comic books, basically, where you're just getting these reoccurring actors doing different characters, this and that. It's almost like, Saturday morning theater, where you're getting this totally different story, but it's the same actors. So you're like, I like that guy. He's good. And I love what he just did, and I love that better. And like you can, that's basically what these kind of movies were thought to be. Like, we're just gonna make these movies with the same feel. Some were hit, some were missed.
Yeah, the familiarity of it is cool. All right, cool.
All right, so I want you to frame it this way, George, as you watch this movie, because we're correcting history, much like you had to watch Failsafe before you watched Doctor Strangelove. We're correcting history here. Halloween 2, I want you to think of The Fog. So it's Halloween, The Fog.
Halloween, The Fog.
And then Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And you can just think of it as Season of the Witch, if that makes it easier for you.
Okay.
Go into it with that context. Check that movie out, and we will talk about it next week. Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can find us at Twitter and Instagram at remedialfilmpod. You can email us, remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. Are you listening to this on your phone or via one of those RSS media apps like, Amazon, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts? Well, did you know we're also on YouTube? I thought you should know that because, we're there. We get some cool bonus video content for October. We put some bonus stuff into each episode, too. So if you're looking for a rewatch or a re-listen, we're always there at YouTube. And hey, are you already on YouTube? Did you know you could take us with you easily on an RSS feed like Apple Podcasts or Stitcher? Well, we're there for you every week. New episodes drop each Wednesday. We'll be back next Wednesday with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Dum, 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 dum. 5 more days till Halloween.
What is it called?
Silver
Something of the
Shamrock.
Witch.
Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch. So how's it go? Dun, 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 Season of the Witch.
No, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
Did you notice this one? For the first time in one of these in a while, the theme song is not, the fog. The fog. Instead, the actual rhythm of the theme song is the knocking, which I think is fucking awesome because you don't see the knocking till way late in the movie.
Yeah.
But that dude.
Yeah.
It starts off at the beginning, you don't know what that is, and then by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, that's the guy knocking. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I like
That
the
is
fog
good.
a lot, man.
The music, we didn't even talk about. The music in this movie is really good.
Music's good. The cinematography's awesome. That shot at the beginning in the grocery store where you're looking at the guy on the two mirrors, but you're not seeing the camera. Dean Cundy put in his work, man.
For me, the only thing that ruined any cinematography was the fog effects sometimes. Like when it was coming over the bay, it was cool, it was eerie. But when it was traveling the streets, it just looked like billowing smoke. So it was just didn't have that fog feel. Like I remember when I was a kid,
Yeah, because fog doesn't billow like that. It just appears.
Yeah, it's not like a fog machine.
It like descends.
Yeah, it just kind of like hovers and kind of. It's almost like a glacier.
Yeah.
So the billowing kind of threw me off a little bit. But I remember the remake of King Kong.
They should call this movie The Smoke.
The Smoke.
The steam.
The steam. The what's the thing you're always
the vape.
The vape. Yeah. The fog in the King Kong remake, like in the original King Kong, the whole island is surrounded by a fog bank.
Yeah.
But it's just basically looks like storm clouds.
It's clouds. That's what fog is.
But in the remake, 76 remake, they actually make a wall of cloud. Like you can tell it looks like a wall around this island that they have to sail through to get to Skull Island. So it's like the fog in that movie is a character. It's thick.
Yeah.
It's like the wall of China. Like you look at it and it looks like a wall.
Right.
It has character. That's what I would expect, and that was 76, so this was made afterwards.
Right.
If they would have done that, a glacier-type wall of moving fog, it would have looked menacing. It would have looked, but
it would have almost been like Michael Myers in the sense that it's
like a fog version of Michael Myers.
It's slow-moving, but
it's going to get
you
there.
can't get away from it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it worked, except for the scenes in the street, like when it's chasing the car. Or they're like doing K-turns to get away from it, and then all of a sudden you see this billowing smoke come in. Like, to me, it would have looked better if it was almost like that creepy graveyard fog, like in Thriller.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of just like slowly coming in through the buildings. Like you see it engulfing, almost like 9/11, the smoke coming around the buildings. Like, to me, it would have been more scary, not like billowing blobby type fog, but actually it looked like it was reaching for the car. Like it had a character.
They were really hampered by their budget. I would like to see this movie remade. Of all of the ones we talked about so far, I think you could make this movie.
Didn't any of these characters have a dehumidifier in their homes? Like,
I think there is a remake, but it's like universally panned. I want a good.
Yeah, I heard it's horrible.
I want a good remake because you've got the CGI now. You know, you don't do all of the fog with CGI, but you clean it up on the edges with the CGI, and you get some decent actors in there, and like a really ambitious director who isn't afraid to say something.
We wrote a pretty good remake tonight.
Yeah, we really did.
John, call me.
Yeah, man. Just a few character events, like dialogue-driven events, would have changed this movie.
And I don't think any of it was borrowed from any Jello that we haven't seen.
No.
Trying to think. No. Actually, have you guys ever heard of the
oh, wait.
Yeah,
wait a minute. The opening scene
Oh?
in the convenience store, you get the swinging sign.
Oh.
The
very,
wooden
blood
sign.
and black lace. Nice.
Blood and black lace.
Did you guys ever hear
and
of
the maggot head? There was a maggot
and the
head.
maggot head, yeah. That wasn't a Jello, though.
And what about the whole idea of the silhouetted killer as well?
That's yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and where she's kind of sliding down the roof of the lighthouse, and he's standing there at the end of the ladder, where she's basically going to slide into his blade. That's very Giallo-ish.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
There's a few.
I like this movie. It reminds me of Tombs of the Blind Dead, if you've ever seen any of those. I think they're Spanish from the 70s. There's one that takes place on a galleon, so it's like a ghost ship, and the ghost dudes look a lot like these guys. But
that was kind of cool, that scene where the ghost ship passed by the fisherman boat.
It had a very Pirates of the Caribbean feel to it.
I remember watching the opening scene of Pirates of the Caribbean.
And thinking of that scene.
Thinking of this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, they stole that right out of here.
Yeah.